I've heard people complain about how Arena gives way too many rubles, which is why early wipe seems non-existent, and that's what's killing the wipe. But it's just not true. Streamers and large creators are constantly live or making new content racing to the next hot topic. There's no time to sit down and analyze the numbers. Most are strictly speaking from their own biases and feelings. All of this Arena killing Tarkov speak isn't accurate at all. For me personally, Arena has actually saved Tarkov. Nobody I know, myself included, would even be playing this wipe without Arena. But more on this later. Let's break down Arena XP and ruble gain first. Generally, top fragging a game and winning will net you about 350k rubles and 10 to 17k XP depending on game mode and daily win bonuses. You can inject 1.5 mil rubles into the main game at the cost of around 200k. This seems like a lot of rubles, but you have to understand, one game of Arena is a minimum of 10 to 15 minutes. 350k rubles for 10 to 15 minutes is nothing, and I would argue is actually horribly inefficient to farm rubles this way. There are plenty of loot runs in Tarkov that can make 500k on a scav in about 10 to 15 minutes, especially during early to mid wipe. A 10-minute arena game gives you a maximum of 350k rubles, and that's only if you top frag and win. Trying to make 1.5 mil is a 45 to 65 minute investment, assuming you top frag and win every single game, and that's not including queue times and loading screens. If your win rate isn't high and you're losing games, it might take 2 to 3 hours to gain 1 mil. The only reason streamers and longtime players find the arena method strong is because they themselves are the largest variable towards winning or losing. A 10k hour Tarkov player can easily stomp a game of arena, and if you're winning every single game, then you'll be making money extremely fast. However, you're still limited to 1.5 mil every 24 hours no matter how well you do in game. For your average gamer, arena just isn't a good way to make money compared to looting woods or shoreline. During early wipe, hitting shoreline camp can easily fill your bag full of 40k ruble 1 slots like ES lamps and light bulbs, while 4 slot 150k items like tool sets and e-drills are just as common. That's without counting big ticket chance items like LEDX or GPUs. If you learn a loot run, you can easily run these routes safely in about the length of an arena game. There's zero reason to waste your time on arena if you want rubles.
But look at GP coins, look how overpowered the ref shop is.
I can see where you're coming from, but it takes 1.2 rep to get the ref 4. You get 0.01 rep per daily, so that's 120 dailies. That's 40 days, or 35 days if you count your 5 weeklies. So it'll take you 5 to 6 weeks to get the ref 4, if you barely missed a day during those 5 to 6 weeks. 5 to 6 weeks in a wipe, most sweats that are grinding the main game already have trader access to these weapons and builds. The armor, not so much, but the Zook doesn't come with plates and the Zabralo is 59 GP coins each. That's most of the GP coins you get in a day. None of that is even considering that by week 6, most of your encounters in raid will be able to spray down your class 6 plates. My opinion? Most ref items are mid. Stuff like the spear is pretty cool, but the cost is balanced. The only thing that's worth in there are the Lega metal keys. I haven't checked myself because I barely touched the main game, but from what I've seen, you can get pretty juiced out of these rooms. However, Lega medals are fairly rare. I've been playing Arena non-stop since wipe, and even with Twitch drops, I'm only at 13 Lega medals. If you want XP and levels, that's a different story. Taking a look at XP, the most efficient way to hit Flea is through last hero. This is a known fact. About 10k XP for 10 minutes of raid time is insane, but can you guess the issue? First place. You need to place first if you want the full 10k. Where on the leaderboard do you think the average Tarkov player will place? If you're around the middle of the pack, you're probably averaging about 6k XP every 10 minutes. It takes 161k XP to hit level 15. That's about 27 games, which is give or take 4.5 hours, not including queue and load times. For a mediocre player, you can pump that out in 2 days. This is still fast, but you have to realize, even though you have Flea, you don't have anything to sell because Arena doesn't give loot. So to catch up your hideout to people playing real raids, you still have to do loot runs in the main game. You can't just buy the items you need off of Flea because 1.5 mil every 24 hours isn't even close to how much you need to upgrade your hideout. Once you're past Flea and around levels 18 or so from catching up on quests, Arena now becomes horribly inefficient on both rubling and XP. Once you hit the Snoreline Gauntlet, you'll accelerate from 18 to level 30 in about 10 to 16 hours depending on how fast you can quest. If you're a long-time watcher of my channel, you know I'm not talking out of my ass because I've done it before. If you want to go from levels 20 to 30 through Arena, it'll take you about 600k XP. Averaging 6k XP every 10 minutes, that means 17 hours of pure last hero gameplay, no load screens, no queue times. Meanwhile, my main game Snoreline Gauntlet example of 10 to 16 hours includes loading and queue. As you level up, you'll need more and more XP to get to the next level, but XP from Arena does not scale up. While with the main game, as you progress, quest rewards will scale with levels. So at higher levels, quests and raids will give you way more XP per time spent playing than Arena. Usually when wipe hits, it takes me a day or two to hit level 15 depending on server stability. And within the next week or so, if I'm grinding hard, I'll hit mid 30s. Then I begin to burn out and I trudge my way to 42 in like the first, 2 to 3 weeks. It took me 4 weeks to hit level 39 playing Arena. If I was grinding the real game for 4 weeks, I would probably be past level 42 and nearing Lightkeeper. Arena accelerates hitting Flea, and that's about it. As of making this video, I'm around level 50 without my pocket watch. And if I wasn't EOD, I would be stuck with loyalty 1 traders. So the notion that Arena somehow removes early wipe is just plain wrong. The early wipe feel where 2 parties fighting or running gear from loyalty 1 and 2 traders is unaffected by Arena. What's truly accelerating this wipe is the amount of freedom we have with the flea market. You can resell items from traders and buy ammo like in Pen Class 4, which is the armor class we used to consider tanky early wipe. Taking a look at dailies, XP for dailies scale at the same rate as the main game. However, they're relatively easier to do. Things like eliminate 5 enemies in Blast Gang or win 7 rounds as an enforcer, you can easily bang out all of them in one game. A 20 to 30 minute investment to finish 3 Blast Gang dailies in one go is definitely better than anything in the main game in terms of XP per time. But if you're a weaker or average player, it may take you 2 or 3 games to finish, which at this point, it's still pretty strong but nowhere near as efficient as the one game finish. At level 30ish, you're looking at around 10 to 12k XP per daily, so let's say 36 XP from dailies in about an hour or so. From my experience, just questing normally in Tarkov, I can speedrun a level 30 quest that gives 30k XP in about the same time frame, while stacking other quests on the same map. It took me way longer to hit level 42 playing only Arena than I would have playing the main game. And when I launched Tarkov at level 42, I don't have the rep, so I'd have to spend more time questing anyways. However, there's an inherent bias here. By heart, I know the best routes and the fastest ways to finish these quests, so what I consider a fast quest, it may take a long time for a newer player. And these newer players will end up leveling quicker while playing Arena. So when people say Arena gives too much rubles and XP, what they really mean is that they want to maintain the gap between no-lifers and Timmies. The time differential to level and progress between a veteran and a beginner player is massive. Let's take someone like me as an example. Someone who knows so much about the game off the top of my head, I can track and speedrun multiple quests from multiple traders all on the same map in one game. Then compare it to a beginner that has to suffer all tapping in and out of the game to check their map and quest. They're probably only able to do 1 or 2 quests at a time because they're still learning the map. Maybe they're running subpar ammo because they don't 100% understand how pen and armor works, nor do they know what pen and ammo has off the top of their head. In a normal wipe, when these 2 players meet, Taeoff at level 42 2 weeks into wipe would smash that level 13 Timmy 100% of the time. Now we take a look at this wipe. Old man level 42 Taeoff grinding his questline for the last 2 weeks wants to punch down on some babies. He has to fight level 20 Timmies who through Arena has improved their movement and learned to aim with the recoil system. They know what ammo to buy off of Flea because what do you know, Arena actually tells you what ammo depends what class. Boomer Taeoff gets fucking smashed by a meta 545 AK shooting BT. And then he goes on Reddit and cries about how Arena is ruining the game because he can no longer punch down on Timmies. So is expediting the early game around levels 1 to 15, and then expediting the mid game around levels 40 plus really that bad? And are we actually seeing this expedited progression or is it feelings over facts? Everyone keeps complaining about how it's too easy to progress this wipe. Oh, early game is too fast, Arena makes this and that too easy, blah 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 blah. If you're one of them, how the hell are none of you reaching Lightkeeper? The population percentage for the Lightkeeper achievement have not changed since last wipe. Why are you complaining about things being too easy when you haven't even made it to Lighthouse? You haven't made it close to the endgame content on what you're calling the easiest wipe. That's what doesn't make sense to me. I know Lighthouse is bugged this wipe, but you should at least be able to make it to the island before encountering the timer bugs. And there are fixes and workarounds for them. Last wipe, I thoroughly enjoyed the Lighthouse questline. The quests are a pretty good balance between difficulty and frustration. Not to mention they're a well-designed ruble sync for level 42 and higher players. Personally, I'm all for speeding up progression if it meant making it to the endgame content quicker. Most Tarkov fans have played through the same quests over and over again for the past half a decade since COVID. Having Arena the way it is right now is a great alternative to grinding the same boring quest every 6 months. It's repetitive. No one wants to do the same shit every half a year. I used to have enough friends playing the game that we could fill 2 squads on a wipe day and they would play until level 30 at least. None of them are left. They all quit because nothing about the game has changed. A couple map expansions here and there, some recoil and inertia changes here, 2 or 3 new guns, and that's it. The only thing that's enjoyable is a new questline with a new feature, interacting with an on-map trader. But to get there, you need to grind through hundreds of hours of the same quest you've already done a million times before you can even begin the questline. No wonder everyone's quitting the game. Arena has been a godsend as it gives players an alternative way of progression so they can reach content they've never done before. It's brought a handful of my buddies who like PvP back to the game because combat in Tarkov is pretty fun and enjoyable. Having an objective-based game mode like Blast Gang makes every game and round interesting. But instead of playing this fun new way of progression, people complain about it dumbing down the main game, when with it, they still haven't made it to the end game. I hope BSG doesn't blindly listen to these crybabies and instead look at numbers on their end and adjust accordingly. It's simple really. If early game XP does need to be nerfed, just decrease XP gain in Arena by half, then tie % bonus XP to each Intel Center level and library, which will eventually lead to the current full amount. That way when you're mid-game in full hideout, you can still get your expedited XP past level 40 to reach Lightkeeper sooner. But instead of taking 1 to 2 days to hit Flea with Arena, it'll take 4 to 5 days. Also, one last thing to address. I don't know what the fuck kind of propaganda you've been seeing with these crates, but they've always given me garbage. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Like, sub, bell, follow my other stuff. See you next time.